go home tonight and read the Federalist Papers, written by Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, and James Madison. James Madison being the father of the Constitution. Read in essay 10 of the Federalist Papers, where Madison writes that democracies have ever been spectacles of turbulence and contention, have ever been found to be incompatible with personal security and the rights of property, and in general have been as short in their lives as they have been violent in their deaths. Founding fathers feared democracy. They called it mob rule. They called it mobocracy. We are a republic. Republic is Latin. Its etymology is Latin from two words, res publica. Okay, res meaning the law, publica meaning public. The public thing, the law. So democracy is government by men. Republic is government by law. And the United States has always been a republic. Now, our main thinking in the Birch Society is this. Like I said previously, preserve our national sovereignty and our Constitution. You achieve this through the establishment of a constitutional House of Representatives. Our contention is you get a constitutional House of Representatives through the creation of the informed electorate, and our contention is to do this, we must maintain, not only maintain, but also greatly expand this education action organization known as the John Birch Society. Now, I mentioned a constitutional House of Representatives, and that comment itself deserves a little bit more of an in-depth comment. I want to pass out. Brett, do me a favor. Just pass those down. Everybody, take one of these if you would. Now, let me explain what I'm passing out to you. This is an educational tool published by the John Birch Society. It's called the Freedom Index, and I pointed out to you earlier our magazine, the New American Magazine. We publish this twice a year in our magazine, the New American Magazine, usually in July and then usually in December. It is, in a nutshell, it is your congressmen and senators' report card on the major issues of the day. This is from about a year ago in the year of 2010. Thank you. Our contention is this, that the Congress itself is very, very important. Let me just do the process of elimination real quickly for you. The federal courts, I think all of us would agree, the federal courts are out of control. The federal courts, we have way too many judges engaging in judicial activism, wanting to legislate from the bench. And I'm a believer that words have meaning. And speaking on this issue of the judiciary, you know what the very first word in the Constitution is? Without looking. Does anybody know what the very first word in Article 1, Section 1 is? No, not preamble. Not preamble. Not preamble, but no, it's actually the word all. A-L-L. Here's what Article 1, Section 1 says, folks. Okay? All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress. Now, on the percentage of 100% to 0%, all is 100%. So that means the ability to make law, the power to make law, belongs to the Congress. So how much power do the courts have to make law? That's right, zero. They have no power whatsoever to make law. But what they have done, they have engaged in what we commonly call now judicial activism, and they legislate from the courts. Now, is there, and I don't want to digress here, but are there constitutional checks and balances that the Congress can impose on the court to check their power, to get them in line? There are. Let's mention just a couple of them. First of all, how many courts are actually needs to fund the other courts. They are permitted to fund the other federal courts, which are now in existence. But by defunding the other federal courts and still funding the Supreme Court, they would be within their constitutional prerogative. Not saying that's a good idea. Frankly, I don't think it's a good idea. But that's something they could do. Something else they can do, and this has only been done like maybe a dozen times in American history, the impeachment of federal judges. That can be done. The Congress can do that. That's not been done for, last time it was done was 1989. A federal judge was impeached by the House and put on trial in the Senate and booted out. Something else that can be done, and this can be done on the abortion issue, folks. You're going to read, I'm just going to paraphrase it here, but go home tonight and look at Article 3, Section 2, Clause 2. And I'm not going to give you the exact words here, but Congress can strip the federal courts of their appellate jurisdiction. Well, let's just, I don't want to ever be accused of playing fast and loose. Article 3, Section 2, Clause 2. Here's where I'm coming from. Okay, in all cases affecting ambassadors, blah, 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 blah. Okay, in all other cases before mentioned, the Supreme Court shall have appellate jurisdiction, both to the law and fact, with such exceptions and under such regulations as the Congress shall make. What I'm saying to you simply is this: the Congress can strip the federal courts or the Supreme Court of their jurisdiction if a case has reached a federal court or the Supreme Court through the appeals process, like Roe versus Wade did in late 1972, and then that infamous decision of January 22nd, 1973, in which they're saying now 1.5 million babies a year. What is it? What, 52 million? They say 52 million babies now have been killed as a result of Roe versus Wade. A constitutional Congress, folks, could strip the Supreme Court, and they could simply say, by the power vested to us in the Constitution, in Article 3, Section 2, Clause 2, Supreme Court, we hereby strip your appellate jurisdiction of this Roe versus Wade case. Hands off the issue, we will now decide the fate of this issue. But what I'm saying is this: to get the courts in line, folks, to either impeach federal judges or maybe even to defund the courts or to strip the Supreme Court or federal court or the federal courts or Supreme Court of their appellate jurisdiction, you need a constitutional Congress, don't you, that will abide by the Constitution. That entails the creation of an informed electorate. And that's what we're all about, is creating that informed electorate. So, in my opinion, the judicial branch will be the last branch to be impacted by this concept of creating an informed electorate, which eventually results in the bad guys being booted out of office and the good guys, the constitutionalists, being voted in, and then retaining such individuals, and those individuals themselves voting with votes that are consistent and in conformity with the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. The presidency, and I know a lot of you are not going to like this, and we've got a presidential election coming up next year in 2012, and a lot of you are not going to like this next comment, but I'll let the chips fall where they will. The presidency is controlled, folks. The presidency is controlled by elitist organizations, preeminent among them the Council on Foreign Relations, and it does not matter a political party. The guy who's in the White House, he may be the president, but he doesn't necessarily set the agenda and call the shots. I know that's a tough pill to swallow. If you've not heard of elitist organizations like the Council on Foreign Relations, and that probably is the most preeminent, I do have one book which is a very, very good history of the Council on Foreign Relations called The Shadows of Power, and we have another little reprint for just $1, simply entitled the Council on Foreign Relations. Our opinion is that the best counterattack toward the attack of socialism and collectivism that we're being subjected to is the Congress, specifically the House of Representatives. I'm not saying Senate here, and I'm cognizant, don't get me wrong, cognizant of the damage that the Senate can do to us through judicial appointees, through these judicial activists. Let me get your, if you would, hold off your questions, I'll answer any questions you want at the very end, but let me get through this, okay? The judicial activists, I forgot where I was going with this. Help me out, the last thing I just said was, somebody.
Keeping it in the House and not in.
Okay, being aware that the danger the Senate can do to us with judicial appointees, with treaties, so there's no doubt about it, let's not deny it, there's damage the Senate can do. But the House of Representatives, we feel, is the best way to counterattack this problem. Once again, if you have a Constitution with you right now, and if you don't, go home tonight and get out your Constitution, go to Article 1, Section 7, Clause 1. It states that all bills for raising revenues must originate in the House of Representatives. So, you've got 435 people in the House of Representatives. If a majority, 218, will say these federal programs are unconstitutional, we can't afford them, we don't need them, and they don't appropriate the money, guess what? These programs don't get subsidized, they don't get underwritten. And that can be the end of it. 218 in the House can do it. Now, what if the Senate doesn't like it? Well, that's tough. The President's not going to like it, the Supreme Court is not going to like it, the major media outlets are not going to like it, but as they would say in Spain, el tougho. Because you know what, folks? The House of Representatives, they control the purse strings. The nice thing also about the House of Representatives, they're closer to the American people. They're up for re-election every 2 years to be either rehired or fired. So, this is something, quite frankly, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're doing with this Obamacare situation, but this is something that the current Congress could do right now with a vote of 218 in the House. They could simply say, we're not going to fund Obamacare, and bye-bye, it's gone. So that is something that they have the power to do constitutionally. So that is our main thrust, is at the House of Representatives level for those two reasons. Now, just a few of the educational tools we have in the John Birch Society. Once again, this is our magazine called The New American. This comes out twice a month. We have something which is called a monthly bulletin of the John Birch Society that comes to all members. And with the national bulletin, the monthly bulletin of the John Birch Society, it's focused, geared, oriented primarily toward the preservation of our national sovereignty and our Constitution. Those are the educational projects. And the beauty of it is, it's concerted action. We're not trying to deal with every issue, every tangent issue that's out there. You get on tangent issues, you try to deal with every issue that's out there. You go on a rabbit chase, and that rabbit is going to zigzag and take you in a million different directions. And in all likelihood, you're not going to catch it. So I don't believe in zigzagging, going on rabbit chases, nor does the John Birch Society. So we focus primarily on the preservation of our Constitution and our sovereignty. And the nice thing about this bulletin, folks, it's concerted action is what it is. All members of the John Birch Society nationwide in all 50 states of the Union, are working on the same projects. So you're going to get more bang for your buck working in a concerted